At university, I was an excellent student and dreamed of great love. After graduation, I immediately married my classmate Pavel. Life seemed successful. I had a favorite job in the same company as Paul, where I was engaged in creative projects that really inspired me. And a year later, our son Ethan was born. Together, we bought an apartment in a new building. The first few years were good. Paul had a growing career with a construction company, and I was raising Ethan and working part-time. But then something changed. My husband started staying late at work, citing urgent business trips. I suspected the worst, but I didn't want to believe it. I hoped he would come to his senses. After all, we were a family with a child. One evening I left work early, complaining of a headache. All day long I was gnawing with anxiety that I couldn't get rid of. My thoughts were scattered, flitting between routine tasks and the constant worry that something was wrong. I felt a strange need to go home, as if some invisible force was pulling me there. As I opened the door to our apartment, I heard music. Then I saw them, Paul and his secretary, right in our bedroom, on our bed. At first, they didn't even notice me standing in the doorway. Of course, there were tears and promises and vows. He claimed it was a mistake, a one-time thing, and begged me to forget the whole thing. But I couldn't forgive him. Perhaps I could put up with an affair, but not this one, not in our house, not in our bed. I filed for divorce. Paul didn't fight back and left me and Ethan the apartment, faithfully paying alimony. Although I was relieved to have avoided a long struggle, the silence that followed his departure was deafening. I struggled with feelings of betrayal, loneliness, and an overwhelming desire to start over. At the same time, I focused on the logistics of single motherhood and keeping Ethan safe, which left little room for introspection. A year later, he moved to another city and married a businesswoman there. Ethan and I lived together and everything seemed fine. He grew up and went to university. Suddenly, I found myself alone in an empty apartment. In the evenings, I sat and wondered if I had been too hasty in the past. Perhaps if I had forgiven Paul, we would still be together now, enjoying our grandchildren. My friends, Lisa and Rachel, noticed my melancholy and began to visit more often. One evening, over a bottle of wine, Lisa said, "You need a man. How long can you stay alone? You're smart, beautiful, and you have so much life ahead of you. Think about it, someone you can share evenings with, travel with, maybe even someone who can remind you how interesting life can be." Rachel agreed and immediately registered me on a dating site. She found a man named Eric. He seemed decent enough, divorced and childless. We arranged to meet near the subway station. I was as nervous as a schoolgirl. I put on makeup and a new dress. I waited for him at the stop, but he didn't show up. When I was about to leave, a young man came up to me with a bouquet of wildflowers. "Sorry I'm late," he said. "It took me forever to find these daisies in town." Eric turned out to be younger than I expected. Over the conversation, time flew by unnoticed. By 11 p.m., we were still sitting and chatting. He offered to walk me home, and at the entrance to my house, I impulsively invited him over for some homemade apple pie. We sat in the kitchen drinking tea and listening to soft music. Then we spun in a slow dance. His hands were warm and safe, and when we kissed, it felt natural and right. The next morning, I woke up alone. There was a note on the kitchen table: "Thank you for a wonderful evening. You're amazing." No phone number. No last name. And strangely enough, I realized I didn't need them. That meeting was exactly what I needed to remind myself that life wasn't over, that I could still be wanted and loved. More than a year has passed since that night, and I never saw Eric again. At times I wonder why I didn't try to find him. Maybe it was because that night seemed so complete, like a chapter that didn't need to continue. Or maybe, deep down, I was afraid of breaking the magic of that one perfect memory. And while I don't regret letting it remain a fleeting moment, sometimes I catch myself imagining what could have been. I wasn't looking for him, but something changed inside me. I joined a fitness club, started taking Spanish classes, and went on vacation. My life sparkled again, and I finally felt truly free. Sometimes, as I ride through the city in a cab, I look at the people whizzing by and wonder if Eric is among them, carrying wildflowers and preparing to change someone's life the way he once changed mine. The thought makes me feel warm and calm,